Couch in space!
Oh, look, it's a couch.
Looks comfortable.
And it's in space.
Cool.
Couch in space!
Hello everyone, welcome to Couch in Space. I'm here with Julie Schooler. Thank you for joining me today, Julie.
Thanks, Daniel.
It's very interesting to have you on because the reason I asked you here is, one, I heard you on another podcast and you talked about publications and about the creative process and things like that, and you had some really interesting insights, I thought, ones that I could definitely identify with. So that's why I got you here. So thank you very much for coming.
Oh, thanks for inviting me. I'm very honoured.
Oh, good. I always like having honoured guests. So, your writing journey, when did you start that? When did you decide, I'm going to write something?
Well, I really liked writing when I was a kid, and then it just all fell away, and I grew up and ignored my creative side for a long time. And then I had my first child, Dylan. He just turned 7.
Right.
And I really believe that having a child, creating life, brought back my creativity. And I started dabbling in writing children's books. And I was kicking myself because I thought I had all this time before I had kids to be creative. And I waited until I had kids and no time, and suddenly all this creativity started popping up. So that was really interesting.
How did you fit that in?
You just fit creativity in when If it's knocking on the door, then you got to let it in. Otherwise, you sort of burst. Yeah. And so I was dabbling away, and I went back to work. I'm an accountant, and then I lost my job when I was 6 months pregnant with my second child, and it really hit me really hard.
Right.
It's not the worst thing to ever happen to anyone, but it really hit me hard. And
how so? Like what?
It was a professional decision from the workplace,
Yes.
but I just took it really personally, and I felt quite rejected.
As you would, actually, yeah.
And I'd been there 7 years, and I didn't know what to do. I didn't want to find a job when I was 6 months pregnant. And I went and saw a coach, and I just said to her, I think I want to write a book. I want to write a book.
Yeah.
And we didn't. I didn't even know what I wanted to write a book about, but I just wanted to write a book.
And you were talking to a life coach at that point?
And she'd just
your
written
local one?
and she'd just written a book. So I got some really good information from her, and she put me onto some resources. And then 3 months after my daughter was born, I started writing my first book, which is Easy Peasy Potty Training.
Easy Peasy Potty Training.
So I just wrote a book on the thing I'd just been through, which was potty training my older child at the time.
Right.
And that's a bestseller in toilet training on Amazon.
Wow,
and
that's awesome.
It's just sold thousands and thousands of copies. It's very strange to me.
I heard you saying on the other podcast that you were surprised that there's still room for your take on something that's been written about many times before.
Yeah.
So what is it about your interpretation that you think resonates with your readers?
I just think there's a perfect book for a perfect reader. So I'd never want anyone to not write a book because there's already,
Yes.
a billion romance novels out in the world, and they want to write a romance novel. Your book will appeal to somebody.
Yes.
And if I'd already known there was 400 books on potty training on Amazon already, it might have put me off. But luckily I was just so naive, and I just wanted to write a book. It didn't matter to me. And then afterwards I was like, oh, there's so many books already. But you always have a different take on it to anyone else.
That's right.
Yeah.
And did you read any of the other books?
Yeah,
did research?
Yes, yeah.
And what was missing that you thought, no, I'm going to explain it in my way?
Yeah,
to make your own book.
I started writing a book. I'd done a bit of research. I'd read a couple of books, and then I got imposter syndrome, and I thought, what am I doing? I don't know what I'm doing. And I just stopped writing, and I read another 8 books on potty training. No one should ever read 8 books on potty training. It's just very confusing.
All written by Dr. William Herbertson, you know, someone who's never...
potty training experts, and some of the advice was so horrifying to
really?
me.
Like what?
Like one book said, lock your child in the bathroom until they go on the potty. And I just thought, I can write a book that's a lot more gentler, a lot kinder, and a lot more, from a parent's point of view, a lot more understanding that it's just really hard at times to train your child. So, and I didn't do it all myself. I felt like my book was, I wanted to write a comprehensive book that no one else would have to read another book.
Right.
Like, if you read my book, you had every single answer.
Okay.
Whereas some books I read said, didn't talk about nighttime training, or didn't talk about when you leave the house, or something like that. So I just wanted mine to be comprehensive. And then I got a whole bunch of parent friends to help me and supply just sort of fun snippets on their toilet training antics and stuff. So I had a bit of humour in it as well.
Oh, sweet. And did you get feedback from your friends too?
Yes.
Like, how did you edit the book when you had all these ideas?
Yes, well, I mean, do you mean how I...
No, just, so you got feedback, so once you started writing the book, did you actually show your friends first and got some feedback? Okay. They had to buy a copy, did they?
Yeah, well, I have a marketing strategy where I make it free for a few days, so I get people to download for free if they can.
That's the beauty about having an e-book to accompany.
Yes.
I mean, there's nothing like a physical copy.
Yeah, so the print book came quite a lot later, actually.
Wow.
But the e-book was available for free for a few days, so I just gathered up every friend and family I could to download it. And the other important thing, if you're ever thinking about writing a book, is to try and get reviews, and quite a few reviews as soon as possible.
How do you get reviews?
You ask.
You ask, okay. So
and you ask and you ask and you ask again. It's
wow.
Pretty,
What?
Yeah.
But asking's so hard. It's your precious baby that you're asking for them to look at and go, oh, I don't think so. Or, I love it.
You got to work out why you're writing a book and what's it for. And if you're wanting to write something that's helps people and you want it to be out in the world helping people, then the way it helps people is more people knowing about it and more people liking it and reviewing it and talking about it.
I think a lot of people give up. We were talking just earlier about, self-publishing a book, and with today's technology, you don't need to be a wizard or a millionaire to do that. You can make your own book and you can have something in front of you and a few hundred copies. But what people don't know is, how do you access an oversaturated market already? There's so many books, there's Amazon, and like you said, there's probably another 400 potty training books as well. So it's quite scary, isn't it? That part of it, the marketing side of it, but that's a real strategy that you need to nut out before you even make the book, isn't it?
Yes, and I really just want to encourage anyone who writes a book to just concentrate on writing the book and finishing the book and not to worry too much about the marketing. There's all this marketing you can do in the world, but you've got two sides. You've got kind of the creative side and the business side, and you really want to embrace your creative side as much as possible. And even if one person buys it and it changes something they do in their life, then you've made an impact. So learn what you want about marketing, but don't let it put you off writing the book and being creative. And I went through a course to write that first book. Called Self-Publishing School. Love Self-Publishing School. It was an investment and it was well worth it. A big shout out to Self-Publishing School. And they promised that you could write a best-selling book in 90 days. And for me, they were wrong. It took me 100 days.
Okay.
So
maybe you're a slow learner.
Yeah, maybe I was. So by the time my daughter was 6 months old, I had a best-selling book out. So I was really happy about that.
Wow, best-selling.
But the main thing that they tell you in that course, and the main thing I want to tell people is to finish, insert an expletive here. Finish your book.
Yes.
And then absorb yourself in the marketing and the business side.
Yeah. It shouldn't be the motivation, hey? And it also shouldn't be the goal? You know, you're going to judge yourself, aren't you? If you make this book and it's not a bestseller, have you failed in some way?
Well, it depends what you define as your success. Is your success actually finishing a book? Well, if you actually finish writing a book, you've done better than all those people in the population, the 80% of the population who have said that they want to write a book and never do.
It's amazing though. Do you find that though, once you tell people you've written a book, they'll say, "Oh, I've got a great idea for a book."
Yeah.
So what have you done about it? Oh, nothing yet.
Yeah.
But I've got a great idea. Yeah.
Yeah. I've sent out a little, now people ask me about it, so I send out a little email to people and just to help them along, all the things that I wish I'd known. Yeah. Like in my first book, there is, well, and then all subsequent books have one space after a full stop and not two. Okay?
Oh, yeah,
it's
I heard
revolutionary. Revolutionary.
But why?
And I'm old school, and I think I got taught with two spaces after a full stop.
I still write with two spaces.
No.
Really?
No, one space. My editor had a field day, so yeah. Save yourself time and effort.
Is there a button you can push that sees every decimal point and only takes one space away? If there is some script.
There is some
you don't have to go through your whole book and start erasing after every sentence. All right, so you started with the potty training, and then obviously with the roaring success you had, you went straight on to easy peasy healthy living.
Yeah, healthy eating.
Healthy eating.
So that was more about, it was just sort of a passion project of mine about getting fussy eaters, picky eaters to kids to like vegetables more.
And this started to look like a series now. So was that ever the intention?
Yes, I was thinking about more leaning into parenting, the parenting side of book writing, and I had a few ideas for the third one. I've still got ideas for another Easy Peasy. I'd like it to be a trilogy.
Good.
But I kind of lost my mojo on the parenting bit, and then I sort of
Easy
moved
Peasy
into,
got a bit complicated, didn't it?
Yeah, Easy Peasy. Yeah, I don't know. I really enjoy, but I stand by both those books. I love them.
Yes.
And the potty training book sells. The healthy eating is steady, but it doesn't sell as much. I learned a whole lot of things when I was researching that book too. I mean, you might want to write fiction or whatever, but either way, you've got to work out what you enjoy. And what I enjoy is sort of collating a whole lot of knowledge that I've sort of researched and then finding patterns and then like producing it in a new way. And so I really enjoyed researching that book. My kids eat more vegetables now than they did before I wrote the book. So, and every afternoon, evening before dinner, we do one of the strategies which is in the book, which was I just give them a platter of raw vegetables and they just eat it. And now they ask for it. They're like, "Oh, can we have some more celery?" Last night I said, "Can we have some more celery?" I was like, okay.
I've never ever heard a kid say, "Can we please have some more celery?"
Yeah, I cook them. I talk about kale chips in there too. So you just bake up kale.
Yes.
And we had that yesterday too, and they're like, "Yum, kale chips."
But kids will adapt to anything you put in front of them. Hey,
Yeah.
I mean, at the end of the day, they start with a totally neutral palate, don't they? It's only what you introduce into their diet that they are going to love or hate kind of thing.
Yeah, and
what they're getting exposed to.
We have so many hang-ups on food that we don't realise that we put on to children. My other bugbear is rewarding children with food, especially with sweet treats. And I realise that obviously in my past that has been sort of a reward system that I've been brought up with or I've given myself. And I find it very, very difficult, but I have to find other ways to reward my children and not say, "Oh, you have to finish your plate and then you get ice cream," or anything like that. I don't say anything like that. If they don't finish their dinner and they still want dessert, then that's fine.
Okay.
And it's quite difficult.
Very, very, because you want to be the good parent, don't you? You want to give them rewards and you want to encourage them, but it's hard.
Yeah.
Oh,
I do screen time as rewards now.
Okay.
Yeah. It's hard. It's just hard being a parent.
I used to do that too. Screen time?
Yeah.
Yeah, just if they're good, and it's also something you can take away as well. Okay, now it's only half an hour.
Yes.
You keep going like this, it'll only be 10 minutes, and okay, for the next 2 days, no screen time. It's not detrimental.
No, no.
They're the ones putting the importance on screen time, not you. It's
Yeah.
not going to... But most of the time, okay, I have to play in my room instead.
Yeah.
Which they end up being quite happily doing anyway. They even forget about TV. But
Yes.
then, yeah.
I say to my son, do you know how many times I got to play on an iPad? None. 0 when I was a child. He was like, that's because there's no iPads, Mum. Yes, yes.
What did we do before iPads?
Yeah.
Eh? Oh, that's
Yeah.
what I talk a lot about with my other guests, about the distraction of social media. You know, how do you even begin to parent something like that? Because 99% of the adults are addicted to these phones and these screens, yet they have to take the moral high ground in teaching their children to not be as addicted as they are. And eventually we'll get there. But this is new technology. We're being distracted and more so than ever. How do you have any strategies that, apart from, you know, taking away some screen time, into teaching them how to actually, I don't know, balance themselves with that?
It's really difficult, especially when I'm like constantly on my phone as well. And I think kids innately love life anyway.
Yes.
So you just got to get them loving things that are not on a screen anyway, and they innately like that. You know, if you play with them outside, they just love it.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm jumping on the trampoline, or
Yep.
I'm playing. We're playing hit and roll.
Yeah.
And they absolutely adore it. So
The trampoline is the best thing I ever bought for the kids.
yeah.
Because the activity, it's contained. So there's no excuse having to drive somewhere or, you know, but you just walk out the house, jump on the trampoline, gets all their energy going. They learn balance, they learn to be careful.
Yeah.
And it's just the best thing.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with how children are going to be. I'm worried about the current adult population.
Oh,
our screen
we're
addiction.
stuffed. Yeah, that's right. We'll be in the old rest homes on our phones. Put that away, Granddad. You don't need it.
Yeah.
I think they'll be a lot more disciplined than we are.
Yeah.
But we just think, oh, this is just such great technology. It's never been here before.
Yeah, maybe they'll be better at it because it's just so pervasive already. They'll learn to just stop doing
or
it.
just
Whereas
use it more wisely.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
not just
Whereas
mind-numbing
ours
brain.
is still like, oh, there's a computer in my back pocket. This is very exciting.
Yeah,
10
go
years
on
ago, it
Google,
wasn't here.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I know. It's still so new. It's scary, but it's exciting. Okay, so you've done 2 easy
Yes,
peasies.
so-
How did you go from?
And then I decided I really wanted to go back to kind of what I was always enjoyed, which is self-help, personal development, personal growth. And in 2016, I turned 40, and I decided to do 40 things on my bucket list.
Yeah.
During 2016, and so that was a really exciting year. I really
Wow.
enjoyed that, and
Is that when the bucket list book?
yeah,
Is that
and
the next
so
one in the line?
I actually wrote Crappy to Happy first. So
Shake off stress and rediscover your mama mojo.
Yes, so I wrote it. It was sort of in between the parenting and the pure personal development books, and it was a kind of personal development for mama.
Yeah.
Mama's helping us be happy. My main question I was asking myself is, you know, I've got a nice house and a nice husband and nice kids. Like, why aren't I happier?
Yes.
And so that was what I was investigating with that book. And yeah, it's still my favourite book that I wrote. I love that book.
I'm going to have a read of that one.
And I've had guys read it and they love
Yeah?
it. Yeah. It's written like you're a mum with kids, but
Yes.
anyone can kind of read it and get something out of it.
What made you feel crappy? Did you discover that? Did you find
Yes,
out why?
I really think it's all about emotion and mindset.
Yep.
Yeah. So 2016, when I did the bucket list, one of the major ones I did was going to see Tony Robbins.
Oh, yeah,
He's a
yep.
motivational American motivational speaker, and he had a seminar in Sydney. So I went over to Sydney. It was 4 days. He's there for 2 days. There's another guy who takes it for 2 days. And it was after that I wrote Crappy to Happy. So there was a lot of stuff that came out of that. Just, around Tony talks a lot about living in a beautiful state versus living in a suffering state. And
Yes.
And he also talks about how busyness and stress are sort of acceptable ways of being.
Yes.
Well,
They're the norm, which is
like they're the norm.
insane.
They're expected.
Yeah.
Whereas you don't have to always say that you're busy and stressed all the
Yes.
time. You can say you have a full life. And
How are you? I have a full life.
yeah.
Now I have to hear about it?
Yeah. Well, you have a big life, or you've got,
everyone has
people
a big life. That's
yeah,
the thing.
people have got a lot of things going
Yeah,
on.
they do.
And I really love that sentiment, and some of that sort of beautiful state sentiment came through
Yeah.
in the Crappy to Happy. So, yeah.
Wow,
I've
what a
had a lot of
journey.
really lovely feedback from that book. Yeah.
And I think a lot of people are in the same situation as you, and I was as well. I was in the same boat. I had a nice house, got a good job, good friends, but there was just something missing. The creativity was part of it, but finding that, what is it? I don't know, whether we are just getting so much in our heads these days because we have the time, we don't have to worry about shelter or food. People think a lot more, and all of a sudden, if you don't have anything to kind of take your mind away from just your own thought process, and creativity is a great one because it gives you a purpose. You're starting with a mold of clay, or you're starting with words, or you're starting with a story idea that motivates you and gives you purpose and meaning. But if you don't have that, and a lot of people have just gotten into the framework of getting up in the car, go to work, come home, on the weekends it's kids' sport. There's no real passion time that kind of nourishes the soul. And I think a lot of people, use religion or they use clubs. But all of a sudden, those are diminishing, faiths are diminishing, and introspective is a lot more popular now. Nourishing Your Soul books, all that sort of stuff, that self-help, people are lapping it up. They know that something is missing and they need some help, but they can't really explain what that is. And to find that, you have to kind of go on a journey. You cannot go through doing the same thing every day and expecting things to change. And some people can't find it. They're in that rut, they're in that circle, and they don't know how to step out of that.
So how did you step out when you wrote your book?
No, the book was something I did earlier. The way I stepped out, to be honest, I'm still stepping out.
I think it's called personal growth for a reason.
Living in part of a society, I still have a mortgage, I still have job responsibilities, I still have family responsibilities. But what I have started is to just put myself in spaces that, to be honest, I'm uncomfortable with. And to talk to people that have a similar experience. This is why Couch and Space kind of exists.
Couch and Space, yeah.
But you know what? Couch and Space has allowed me to sit with a person one-on-one for over half an hour. Their undivided attention. They're not distracted by people walking past. They're not distracted on their phone. I get to really connect with someone. And I think it's that connection, a more deeper, meaningful connection with complete strangers most part. And you think, wow, these people have a really good mind. And whatever, I get so much, I learn so much from different people. Like your experiences, I learn from. It's great.
Yeah, so definitely getting out of yourself and actually...
How did you scare yourself?
Yes, I mean, everything I've done that has stepped me out of my comfort zone has actually ultimately made me feel better.
Even though initially it's awful, isn't it? It's
like writing
I hate this. Why am I feeling...
every book.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
What's my book worth? Why is that? Any creative goes through that process anyway.
Like writing the book's hard, and then actually putting it out in the world. And I've had 1-star reviews on my books, and it hurts every time.
Yeah.
Even though I've got 25-star reviews, it doesn't matter.
Isn't that funny? Why do we lean more towards the negative feedback than the positive? You could have 5
Yeah.
5-star reviews, but 1-star reviews, and that's the one that affects you.
Yes, that's one you remember, but we have a negativity bias. We have a lizard brain that is always searching for lack and attack. So I talk about a lot.
Lack and attack, that's a good way to put it.
I talk about it a lot in Crappy to Happy, and
right.
sort of an evolutionary thing. We're always on the lookout for something that can kill us.
Yes.
The saber-toothed tiger or the lack of water, right? And so we're always going to lean into the negative, and we have to actually deliberately find ways to make us happier.
Right.
And even if it's just sort of looking out the window and looking at the sunrise, and it seems so cliche,
yes.
but it just stops your brain from having a negative thought for a second and brings in a bit more positive. And so a part of Crappy to Happy was just finding ways to be happier without even it costing any more. Was only a few seconds or a few minutes.
Your meditation kind of starts to creep in at that stage?
Yeah, meditation, gratitude practices.
Yeah.
My kids and I, we do something every night when they go to bed, and I say to them, what are you happy about, or what are you grateful for, and what are you happy about?
Oh, nice.
And it's just a really nice way to sort of end the day. They're tucked up in bed, and they give the funniest answers, and they might say sausages or something, but it doesn't.
And why not if it makes you happy?
It doesn't even matter what the answer is.
No.
It just matters that their mind is redirected to those powerful questions. Yeah, that's really nice.
It's fascinating, hey?
Yeah, so I wrote Crappy to Happy, and then I did the bucket list thing through 2016, and I never even thought for a minute about writing a book about it. Like, I don't know what I was thinking. Anyway, so strange. But this book is not just about my 40 bucket list things. It's a step-by-step guide on how to write your own bucket list. You don't have to do 40 in a year or anything like that. I don't want people to think that they have to be terminally ill or nearly dying. Like, every single person should write a bucket list, or at least just jot down 2 or 3 things they really want to do and go out and do them.
Yes.
And also I want people to know that it doesn't have to be expensive. I did a couple of things that were expensive, like going to see Tony Robbins.
Yes.
But I did a lot of things that were free or very low cost. Like, I walked across Auckland. Have you ever heard of that? Yeah. So you walk from the viaduct over to Onehunga. And it takes about 5 hours, and it's a really cool walk. You walk past Mount Eden and One Tree Hill. Yeah.
Is that actually a path that?
Yeah, it's a
trail, is it?
Yeah, it's a trail. Yeah.
5 hours.
Yeah.
See, that's an awesome day trip.
Yeah, so it's a really cool thing to do.
No one would think of doing that.
Yeah, and so it's just a really cool thing to do that I can say I've done now. So,
wow.
Yeah. So tick.
And what did you discover that you didn't know before about Auckland, doing that little trail?
Oh, that was really interesting. There was places, because, like, I've grown up in Auckland, and there was just streets and places that I walked through that I've never seen, been through before. I was like, wow. Especially sort of the back of Onehunga, I was like, wow. And I lived in Royal Oak for years and years. I was like, how do I not know about these places? So, yeah.
So we don't even know our own neighbourhoods.
Yeah. Yeah, so you don't have to, travel overseas for your bucket list or anything like that. There's another Tony Robbins concept, but we have certain needs, and we have a need for certainty, which goes back to our whole lizard brain, our kind of negativity bias. And a lot of people have a need for certainty, but we also have a need for variety, so we have 2 needs that clash.
Yeah.
And a bucket list is perfect to meet both those needs. So it meets your need for certainty because you've got a list of things that you want to do, but it meets your need for variety because then you're doing all these sort of variety of things.
I think that's the key word, variety.
Yeah.
And I think that's what got me out of my slump, is that I had the certainty aspects of everything. I know what was coming up, I know what's going to happen, but there was a lack of variety. And the variety, I didn't know how important that was. And variety is new things, and it's putting yourself out there and making yourself feel uncomfortable. And
have you done any exciting
variety?
You need to write a bucket list, Daniel.
Yeah. To be honest, yes, you're right. It would probably be very good for me because then you become goal orientated. A lot of people have goals and bucket lists, or I have one at work where I cross off the things I have to do throughout the day or the week or the month. But I don't have one personally. So it makes a lot of sense to say, okay, I really want to learn skiing. you know, but it's hard because I don't know anything about skiing.
Yeah.
You know, where do I ski?
Yeah.
What do I need to wear to ski? You know, and it's all those sort of things. But once you've actually isolated what you want to do, you then make plans to do that, and you know, getting your step-by-step processes in line.
Step by step.
And the hard part is staying motivated and actually doing it.
Yeah. You got to think about why you want to do something.
Yeah.
Because you can't do it all. That's why you've got to write a bucket list and narrow it down, or a goals list, or whatever you want to call it, and narrow it down to. One of my main things is trying to get people to work out what they really want to do. What do they actually love?
People don't know. That's
I think we've lost it. You like
Yeah.
it as kids,
Yes.
and you just sort of lose it because you think, well, I don't have time, you know, and you lie to yourself. You say, I don't have time for that.
Yeah. You know what it is? Play.
Yes,
Play.
play. Yeah.
People are so serious, and our life is so serious. You know, as soon as you start paying taxes, the play part of life gets totally sucked out. Don't you think so?
Yeah.
And and it's totally valid. Oh, I can't. I'm stressed about this, and oh no, I'm a parent now. And even the creative process, everything is based on goal orientation or success orientation. If you think about how kids play, they just play 2 or 3 hours. They're in their own little world. They come out of that world, and that's it. It didn't have to mean any more than just being in that. And
I just think, you know, what an invitation as a to be a parent to invite you back into play. Isn't that amazing?
That's what kids do for you, though.
Yeah.
You know, you sit down with Lego again, and you're sitting on the floor, or you're bouncing on the trampoline.
Yeah.
As a parent, you're allowed to do that.
Yes.
But if you're not a parent,
oh well, I mean, still,
and you jump on the trampoline or you sit down on the floor with Legos, people are going to judge you pretty harshly, eh?
And I don't think play has to be typically children's play. Play, I'm writing this in my new book actually, but play is something you really love to do. So I did a blog post recently about how I just stopped reading fiction. I stopped reading novels because I was always I was researching my books and I'm reading non-fiction, and I like non-fiction.
Yeah.
But I leant too far, and I love reading a good novel.
Yeah.
And then I read a couple of novels over the festive break, and I just didn't really enjoy them. And then I thought, oh God, I'm not going to be able to read another novel until next Christmas. And I was like, what am I doing to myself? Why am I not allowing myself to do the one thing that I absolutely love to do?
Wow.
So find the thing that you really love and just do it. Who cares what other people think?
Yeah, that's the thing though. Hey, you've got this second voice up here that says, oh, you can't do that. Why are you doing that? Don't be an idiot. Quietening that little mind up here that's constantly going and being judgmental. And we're so hard on ourselves. Hey, mentally, we are just... It's like having a really bad friend next to you or around you all the time that doesn't give a shit about your well-being. That just says, no, I know better. Don't do that. You know, be scared of this. You can't do that. No one else is doing it.
That's not you. That's what I got this concept from a life coach called Martha Beck. She's a well-known life coach from the US, and she calls that your lizard. So it's about your lizard brain. And she says one thing that you can do is name your lizard.
Right.
So and she also asks you to find a representation of a lizard. I've got a lizard on I used to have a lizard on my key ring. It's fallen off. And you call your lizard a name. Yeah. And when she wakes you up at 3 o'clock in the morning, as your lizard does, and says, you don't have enough time today to do everything you want to do. Oh, you didn't do that thing yesterday. Oh, you shouldn't have yelled at your kids like that. Then you go, shush, shush, lizard, shush. I call mine Penelope. So shush, Penelope. Penelope is not you. It's not. Penelope's not me. It's not the core me. It's not the, It's
still part of you, but it's not the core you.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah, she's not me. She's just looking for lack and attack.
Yes.
And you just shush her and say, look, let's go back to sleep.
Yeah, see, that's very interesting. I had that last night, actually. I woke up at 2 o'clock and the hamsters were going. I was going, how am I going to deal with this? How am I going to do with that? And blah, blah, blah. And it took over an hour for the mind to actually... I had to get up in the end. And I just walked outside. I let the dog out, and it was nice. It was, 2:30 in the morning. But that was enough to kind of just change the environment I was in. I could have stayed in bed and just got more and more frustrated. I thought, okay, if I'm this awake, maybe I should just get up and do that.
That's another thing, just changing your state. Just changing your state.
And it was like taking a pill almost. It was just the whole body, I felt like sleepy again. It was almost like I had to get up, and I had one of the most amazing dreams afterwards as well. So I'll tell you about that another time. But you're right. The voice inside, whether it's the lizard or so forth, it's just so it's just taking over, and people don't know how to shut it off or quieten it down. And I think that it's where a lot of the anxiety comes from that we're facing today. And
there's so many tools out there, but it's getting out of your own head and deciding.
But even tools, everyone is different. There is no quick fix.
No.
Like with drugs or with methods and it's really hard. If you're not clued up on how to... that there actually is a problem, is part of the problem, isn't it? Is that actually recognising, hey, did you realise you can never shut the hamster up? That it's with you 24/7, telling you negative things? But people don't know that. So they just think, this is normal, this is just how I am, this is who I am. There is no different way.
One thing that I advise people, that you said you heard me on the other podcast, and I advise this almost every time that I talk to someone, is to just cut the news out.
Right.
So stop listening, stop watching the news, take the apps off your phone, stop reading it, just don't, because that feeds your lizard. That feeds all those negative thoughts. And I'm just, things filter through, okay? You hear the headlines, you hear some of the worst things, but you don't hear all the day-to-day horror that you can't do anything about. And it's not being oblivious to the tragedy that's in the world and the unfairness, but it is minding your mind.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I did Bucket Blueprint, and then you're sort of talking about goals. So I did a goal setting book, of course, because if you're writing a personal development book, you have to write a goal setting book.
Yep.
So again,
super sexy goal setting.
Super sexy goal setting.
How's it super sexy?
I was so attached to the name. So I define sexy as exciting and meaningful.
Yes.
And the main theme of that book is to limit your goals. So I suggest 4 goals per year.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good idea.
And up to 4 goals per year. You can even do less. And that was my goal setting book.
Okay. Sounds super sexy. Yeah. Again,
just read it.
Just read it, because it's such a personal thing.
I wrote it a while back. Can't remember what I wrote. I'm sure I see some good things in there.
Did you find that after you've written the first one or the first 2, you've kind of got now a template you've got a rhythm in how you approach writing a book?
Yeah.
So obviously there's a research component, then there is an editing component.
Yes.
Where do you find the time? How do you actually structure that into your life?
Yeah.
Like, do you have a routine of writing these books? Do you make that a priority?
Yes.
Like between 5 and 8 o'clock every day or something like that?
Yeah. So I go through, like, some people say you should write every day, but I sort of write in harvest seasons or like a project. So like I decide I'm going to write a book, and then that's kind of what I'm concentrating on. And I have a some set times over a week that I'll dedicate to writing, and then just try to get it done. And I try to get it done within like a month or 2 at least, and then get out in the world. So I sort of have about a 3 or 4 months turnaround.
So do you give yourself a deadline? I'm going to write this book.
Yes, so the current book I'm writing, I would like it out by the end of this month. So,
okay.
Yeah.
It's only 30 days, right?
Yes, but part of my super sexy goal setting is you should have a deadline
that's right.
and have some accountability. So yeah,
that's the thing, accountability. Hey.
Yes, and so telling people that I'm going to get it out, and if you fail your goal, but it's a week later, who cares?
No, that's right. Like you told me earlier, the 90-day period of writing a book, it took you 100 days. But you still
I managed to write a book. So
it's still a massive achievement.
And then
find your purpose in 15 minutes.
And then yes, of course. So if you write a series on personal growth, you have to write something about purpose. So that's been actually a really good seller. My sister and I, who you know, my sister Natalie and I went to another Tony Robbins seminar. So this is called Date with Destiny, and that was,
we talked a little bit about it.
Yeah, so that was about a year ago, and so that's where she had her epiphany to get to start her vegan food truck. So 6 months to the day after she had the epiphany, like, it was up and running. I could not believe it. Like, that was unbelievable.
And who would have thought? You know, that is what came out. If someone walked past her in the street and goes, "Hey, Nate, you should start a food truck," you go, "What?"
Yeah, it was amazing.
That doesn't make sense. But the way she found out about it was just amazing.
Yeah, it was amazing. So we did 6 days. This is 6 days with Tony Robbins. This is not 6 normal days. This is 6 12 to 15 hour days every day.
She said it was very intense.
Yeah, you're dancing till 2 o'clock in the morning. You're basically dancing. Everyone says, "What did you learn?" I was like, "Nothing. We just danced." But basically, we took 6 days, and towards the end of the 5th or 6th day, we were writing our purpose out, our sort of mission statement. And I thought, I just got a little bit silly afterwards, and I thought, I can do that quicker. So I developed a system where you can do it in 15 minutes.
Well done, though.
Yeah. So
someone who's searching, who's soul searching, who wants to find, what's my purpose, would you recommend these kind of seminars, you know, these self-help seminars?
It really depends what you want. What I want people to know is, don't let not knowing your purpose hold you back. Again, just lean into something you think you want to do, or you think will be fun, or you think you might love, and try it out.
Yes.
Because that makes life purposeful. You know, it's not the day-to-day drudgery. I wrote that book because I wanted people to find their purpose and then just move on. You know, I don't want... You know, if you really want to go and see Tony Robbins and dance for 6 days and have, like, it was the time of my life. It was awesome. But it's not for everybody.
No.
And it takes time and resources. So if you want to do that, do that. But if you just want to get more out of life, then do a quick quiz, find your purpose, and move on and actually live your life.
I guess the key word is just action. Don't talk about it, just do it, hey.
Yeah.
Just find it. And then, to end with, Maxi Moo Flies to the Moon.
Yes. So it's not a personal development book.
No. This is purely for fun and getting back into childlike manner. And you've done it in rhyme, and it looks really nice. And
hardest book I've written. Hardest book. It's got 500 words.
Tell us why this little book that's got 15 words in it was so difficult to write.
Oh my goodness. I learnt so much. I learnt more writing that book than I wrote all those other books combined. That is harder than all those other books combined, and it's so small. I just learnt so much, and it was so rewarding.
Yes.
So it's one of the most rewarding books I've ever written. I've read it to my daughter's daycare, and I've read it to my son's school. And the kids just love it. And so it's rewarding in that respect. But I learned a lot about rhyming and rhythm and stress and iambic. Stress on.
Okay.
Iambic pentameter.
If you get it wrong, it's awful.
Yeah, it sounds awful, and I didn't realise. And I learnt a whole lot about. I didn't do the illustrations, but I learnt about colour and RGB versus CMYK, and just things I had zero idea about before I started. So I love learning new things, and I'd really like to write another picture book sometime. My goal with that book was to create a picture book that you could not tell was self-published as such.
Right.
That you'd see it in a shop.
No, it feels really nice.
And it just looked beautiful. And also just to have fun, real fun. And it was fun, even though it was hard work. Yeah.
But isn't it amazing that these books, these kids' books, just take so much time to actually make look good?
Well, you know, because you wrote one yourself.
Oh, you had to bring that one up. Yes, I have. So I know the struggle that you go through with once you write it and make it technical. So so we're exchanging kids' books today, but it's been absolutely fascinating.
And you wrote yours before self-publishing was even a thing.
I know. I learnt the hard way. I made every mistake under the sun. But you know what? That was all part of, breaking through the barrier. I didn't know, so I just did it. And I made some really, not big mistakes, but I could have done things a lot easier than I did. And now, if I'm going to do another one, I'm so much more prepared. I know what's coming up. And also too, you know, when you write a kid's book, and I think this is one of the rewarding things is, you know, you're creating a whole world. This is all you. These characters, these words never existed before you put this in. And I think that's one of the wonderful things about creating kids' books. So, but it is hard. And to get it right, and the rhythm and rhyming. I know people say, I'm going to make a rhyme. No, you don't have to.
Yeah.
But please, if you're going to do a rhyming book, make it rhyme nice, you know. Don't just have the last words rhyme. The rhythm has to be there. Otherwise, it's just, it's awful. And
my favourite picture books are all rhyming picture books done well, like the Gruffalo and the Harry McCleary books. But again, I don't want to put people off writing a picture book, or especially a rhyming one. Just use your muse and use your creativity and get it out there. The first 20 drafts of Maxi Moo were awful, just awful. But it was a progress. So I don't want people to be put off because they don't know rhythm or they have never heard of that sort of stuff. I had no idea, but I sort of wrote it and then I sort of learned a bit more and wrote it and learned a bit more. So please just write your book.
And it's okay to make mistakes.
Yes.
Write it, and for your first book, just write a terrible book.
Yeah.
That's all you have to do.
Yeah.
And then it's going to become better and better, and that's the creative process, isn't it? And this is where, in the society of instant gratification, you have an app, make your video in 15 seconds and it's awesome. It looks good, sounds good, and all that sort of stuff. That instant gratification doesn't exist when you're putting your heart and soul into something. It's really raw, it's really vulnerable, but if you get there at the other end, I think it's the most rewarding thing you can do, hey?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Through the theme throughout a lot of my books is like happiness. Being happier is actually harder.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Being negative is easy.
Yeah.
Happiness is definitely a lot harder.
They say, there's a quote that they say, death is easy, comedy is hard. Yeah.
Yeah. Ever thought about doing stand-up comedy?
It could be something I'll put on future bucket
If you want to
list.
scare yourself,
yes,
I think that's probably the most scary thing you can do, hey.
Have you tried it? Have you done something?
I'm dabbling with it.
That'd be interesting. I'll come and see you. I'll come and cheer you on.
No, you don't want to, no. But I like the idea because it scares me to death. It's like you're being judged. You're trying to make people funny, or you're trying to make people laugh. And chances are you're not going to succeed in doing that. So you're up there on stage going, oh, wow, that didn't work. Where do I go from here? Do you just walk off and let it... How thick a skin do you need in order to cope with that without wanting to destroy yourself afterwards?
Again, I think you just have to make it playful, make it fun, Otherwise, why are you doing it? Yeah.
Exactly. Well, it's been an absolute pleasure, Julie. Thank you so much for coming along.
Thank you.
I'd love to have you back when you do your next book.
Yes.
And if you have any big revelations that you want to share with the world, all yes.
Yeah, well, I'm constantly learning, so I'll let you know.
Awesome.
I love talking to you, Daniel. You make me feel really relaxed and comfortable.
Even though we're on a couch in space, isn't it beautiful, hey?
Well, space is on my bucket list.
So, is it? Yeah, well, you've done that now. You can cross that off.
I can cross it off now.
Thanks, Julie.
Thank you.
See you guys. Bye.
Couch in space!